Initially, this is the video on Patzer Opening, and many people think this a bad opening, but it's not actually that bad and very effective in blitz game. The opening goes as e4, e5, and queen h5. So, initially black has to play very carefully, and some of the traps for both black and white in this opening are that black can play this thing and bishop c4, and knight move can be seen as a mistake, and you can do a checkmate there on f7, so that's a bad move. Some of the other combinations of the mating for black are you have to drop the queen back to f3, and then he attacks your queen. Maybe this is a good strategy when somebody is defending the mate here, because you can play here and he can win your queen, but here that doesn't just work, and that just work, and you can do a mate. So other things that can happen. Other mistakes like fianchettoing, because since your black is kind of moving this pawn here to defend the mate, is a good idea to follow with the bishop fianchetto. But again, chess is not a mechanical, you can't think that way, and again the mate can be delivered. So white should be very much careful about one thing, and that is this move, d6, and you can continue with your strategy, but you can see a crappy move like this that can defend the mate, but you tend to kind of move this pawn to attack the knight, which is defending the mate on f7, but the bishop move loses your queen. There is no really escape square for white queen. Sacrificing the bishop here doesn't work. Normally you think in this opening common responses that black will be having is like moving this knight out, losing a pawn, but that pawn he can actually count for that pawn by fast developing his pieces. But again, one thing you need to take care is the common development. You see bishop developing here, and then you can defend this pawn by this pawn on d3, and you can then see this knight attacking the queen. Queen drops back to g3, and then black king castles. You develop your bishop to e2, and you can see this lines open for bishop, and then you can simply play bishop here. Black will find this situation very bad, because of the purpose of this white bishop is the black cannot play something like this, and it's really painful to play from this situation. Often a black player tend to lose the control over the game. The other common responses is this knight is the probably best move, and then A common game would look like a bishop, this one, your queen dropping back to this thing, f3, and second knight coming, and you playing this c3 is very important to advance, to stop this knight from advancing into your territory, and you know, possibilities of forking the rook and knight. So this is very important. From here on, he can develop a pawn move he can play, basically, and to open up a bishop line. You can counter this with the pawn move by playing h3 yourself, and then he can fianchetto his bishop. You can play a pawn. I think this would be a good idea to play, because you know, black players can actually attack your bishop, and then you can drop it, and then if they play this with the move like c6, then you will win the material, the knight. Okay, so that's a good trap to lay initially for, you know, when you play a4, it's a kind of frustrating move that sees like this pawn is gonna advance, and then the knight, you know, attacks your bishop. I have seen players playing this move, that's why I'm telling. And then you just play this move before, then they will develop your bishop there, and you did not worry anything. Then do not play here bishop, do not keep it here and support with any pawn, like pawn on B or D. So just play it here. This is a good, again, laying the traps is very important. They cannot capture with the knight because of the possibility of fork. Even if they capture with the bishop, it doesn't make bad for white. You know, this knight will not have any good square. Again, the same trap we're laying, that knight cannot come here. I think this is not going to work here now, but surely after the pawn capture, the knight will be having some bad square to rest on. Obviously he's not going to get back. You will not see commonly knights getting back. It will be commonly put on this square, or this is most common square, but again, you have to just push the pawn and make your empty square on c3 for your knight to sit. And then you can see this move, this knight coming here, and castle, pawn pushed for opening the bishop line, and the game can continue this way. And I will show you the games that will be having this game, and white player effectively utilizing and winning the game. I have won the games, blitz games, against better opponent. Again, this is not an opening for experienced players, or you cannot try it against some good players, but you know, this is a kind of opening that even if a guy is good rated, he gotta play carefully in the initial phase of the game. And even if they eventually come to a good move, they will sometimes take more time to think, which is very critical in blitz game. Okay, so this is very good opening. And other common responses from black player are the queen here on d7, or queen directly on f6, a challenging you know, kind of counter attack. And then you can develop your knight here. He can pose a counter mate here. You can just play your second knight, you know. Then he has to defend this pawn, otherwise you will you cannot play something like this, otherwise you will simply win a pawn, and you know, kind of initial advantage for you. If he plays something like this knight, then you can advance your knight too, and he cannot play his queen here, otherwise it's a big mess. So this is a kind of another variation that can be there in the game. So I'm going to show you some games I had